the Pittsburgh Steelers won 4 Super Bowls and were named Team of the Decade. But many fans have a tendency to forget that the franchise wasn't always steeped in greatness. In fact, before the Steelers dynasty took hold in 1972, they were pro football's most conspicuous losers. For nearly 40 seasons, Pittsburgh fans endured the same old Steelers. Beefy, brawny players who bashed opponents around but never had the grace and skill necessary to win. They lacked snap and crackle on offense, but displayed plenty of pop on defense. Teams beat the Steelers on Sunday, but on Monday, the cost of victory was always assessed in terms of bruises and broken bones. That's why those who went up against Pittsburgh year after year always told the same old story about the same old Steelers.
Every time we ever went into Pittsburgh or played a Pittsburgh team, we were more bruised up than we were when we played any other team in the league. We had more injuries, we had more scratches, we had more limpers. It was always a rougher ball game than any other team we ever played.
The Pittsburgh Steelers played defense like cavemen and cleats, and they struck with Stone Age savagery. This team believed that the hunt wasn't over if the prey was still moving. Pittsburgh defenders were possessed with an instinctual urge to pounce, and it didn't matter if they were short of breath, hard of hearing, or afflicted with less than 20/20 vision.
We had gotten from, I think, Detroit, a man by the name of Alex Schmale. He had poor eyesight, and we were playing a preseason game here at Forbes Field, and the lighting wasn't all that great, and besides, Alex's eyes weren't all that great. And I remember on a play, the referee threw his flag, or he threw his hat, was white, and at that time we used to use a white ball for night games. And Alex, thinking it was a fumble, dove on the referee's hat, you know.
Pittsburgh's offense also suffered from murky vision, and a pronounced lack of clarity in sustaining scoring drives prevented the Steelers from fixing their sights on victory. While the Steelers' defense rumbled and thundered, their offense bumbled and blundered. This was a Jekyll and Hyde team cursed by a monstrous penchant for losing. And from 1933 to 1971, Pittsburgh enjoyed only 8 winning seasons. All too often, the Steelers demonstrated that their grasp of how to move the ball downfield was less than secure. Pittsburgh usually found that even when the end zone was close, it was yet so far away. An inept offense was one factor in the Steelers' losing tradition. Another was owner Art Rooney's unorthodox criteria for selecting head coaches, such as Johnny Blood McNally.
He took a shine to me because I was Irish, and our feeling about the Irish was kind of mutual, is that they're not too strong on intelligence, but they're awfully lucky.
Rooney's soft spot for luck stemmed from his passion for playing the horses.
The chief was a horse player, and the chief had a weakness for hiring head coaches who also were horse players, so he'd have a pal to go to the track with him. And I think that caused a lot of his problems.
In the 50s, Walter Kiesling's problem was sending fullback Fran Rogel, number 33, up the middle on the Steelers' first play from scrimmage of every game.
Our game always started off with the first couple of plays, every game. Rogel up the middle. And the fans got to holler, hey, diddle, diddle, Rogel up the middle. And this went on and on and on, game after game. So one day I talked to Keith. I said, Keith, let's fool the fans.
So Keith said, okay. And he went off grumbling. And he told one of his linemen, he said, listen, we're going to throw on the first down. I want you to go offside. Because if this play works, he'll be giving me orders every week. So Finks dropped back. Guy was wide open because the other team was dumbfounded. You know, they'd never done this before. The guy goes all the way, but the lineman's offside. Play's wiped out.
He did it purposely. He told that guy, get offside. Next play, hey, diddle, diddle, Rogel up the middle.
Rogel up the middle. was eventually replaced by quarterback Bobby Lane going up top. But even a successful forward pass was a weapon that could explode in the Steelers' face. Suffering such indignity was a part of the Steelers' makeup that dates back to their first uniforms. The convict look was appropriate for a team that conducted training camps as if they were prison work farms. Throughout 4 decades, about the only thing the players didn't do was break rocks under the hot sun.
We actually scrimmaged 21 days in a row, so that there was never such a thing as cutting players because they would leave in the middle of the night.
The players that wanted to leave would sneak out. They wouldn't even tell you. They would just leave. And this way they'd send a coach down there and catch the kid and bring him back. I know for a fact that the other 11 teams used to try to keep their players in line by threatening that they would trade them to Pittsburgh. Our working conditions and training camps were really, really tough and hard.
That's how the Steelers got their real tough reputation, because we finally got so we didn't give a damn for anybody, and we didn't have the material, but we knew that somebody was going to pay for all the punishment that we went through ourselves.
Like Stockner, linebacker Bill Saul exacted payment in the form of pain. He was a hairy-knuckled Hulk with a brass-knuckled mentality.
Keep it up, stick them. Stick it down there. Let's go, stick. Don't get caught. That 24 is a little. Let's wrap him. Ow.
Even after the final gun had sounded, Saul kept his fangs bared.
Thank you. We're not allowed, boys. We're not allowed. Don't bug me.
The Steelers were just the ragtags of the whole league. Every troublemaker, every carouser of any, that couldn't be dealt with in any way or other became a Pittsburgh Steeler. That was something. They didn't even have soap in their showers because no one used it anyhow. Razor blades were out of the question.
During 2-a-day practices, ever since I started playing junior high football, you practice twice a day, and they'd give you a clean jockey strap and clean T-shirt and clean socks for if you practice twice a day for the second practice. And I remember when I first went to camp with the Steelers, I pulled my jock off. I'd lost about 15 pounds, about 100 degrees out there, and I threw it out in the middle of the floor. And equipment man kept carrying it back to me. And he says, "You got to wear this afternoon." And I couldn't believe it, I remember when Noel first came, he called us all together and he says, "We're going to change our jockey straps and whites for every practice." And guys started jumping up and down, cheering. And then he says, "Mansfield, you'll change with Russell. Russell, you'll change with Joe Green."
But before Noel's arrival, the team's offense was as rancid as their jockstraps. Foes feasted on the Steelers' mistakes, but playing them was no picnic.
As horrible as this sounds, the Steelers took pride in hurting people. I mean, defensively, we had a rough group of people. They didn't like to play us. They always won, but they got hurt.
The same old Steelers. They seldom tasted victory, but their hard-nosed, hard-hitting brand of football made the rest of the NFL quake with terror. And the great Pittsburgh teams of the 70s were the beneficiaries of this two-fisted legacy.
Basically, the tradition of the Steelers is hard, rock'em, sock'em football. And they're proud of that. I was proud of that when I played for the Steelers.
Remembered by our star of the year, Lynn Swann.
1976 and that Super Bowl win was very important in the sense that it was 76 and provided more of a sense of history and tradition. America, 200 years old, and we win that Super Bowl. No matter what happens, no matter how old we get, no matter who passes away and passes on, no matter what records are broken and reset, there's only one bicentennial winner of a Super Bowl, the Pittsburgh Steelers.